Let's continue to take it back to the basics.
She's an icon, she's a legend, and she is the moment. Now come on now.
What's up, icons? It's the iconic fashion figure, and I'm taking it back to the basics for those of you that are still in the planning phase of starting out your business. Now, I've already done a video taking you through all the steps I recommend for you to get started, literally step by step in starting your business, the non-traditional way, or as I called it, the fake it till you make it. So if you haven't seen that video yet, I'll definitely link that so you guys can check that out. It'll also be linked down in the description box. That'll be the video that takes you step by step of starting your business the non-traditional way. But in today's video, I want to focus on how to choose your niche for your online business. Unbeknownst to me, this is one of the areas that a lot of you are struggling with, or just that statement when I ask people, what type of business they're looking to start. They usually just say they want to start a business, but they don't know what type of business. So let's slow it down. We're going to take it a step back and let's talk about how to choose your niche for your online business. Now, there's a bunch of different ways you can define niche and what type of niche you want to go for, because I know a lot of people would just say women's clothing, men's clothing, lashes, makeup, that type of thing. But there's different ways to define the niche that you want to sell to. And your niche isn't necessarily truly identifying your target market. Let's just do the general idea of what your customer is looking like. So the different ways that you can define your niche can be based off interest. Like, your customers all have a similar interest. Whether you're starting some sort of outdoor brand and all those people are into more like outdoor activities. Think of different interests and hobbies that individuals may share that your brand is focused on. Those would be the interests. You can define your niche by a price point. Not everyone is willing to spend the same. You might have a more affordable niche where they're okay with spending $10 on a garment and they know that it might not be the highest quality fabric. Or you'll have some people that are like, I'm not buying that because quality matters to me, and they're willing to spend a whole lot more on a product to get the quality that they're looking for. So your price point can help to determine your niche. Are you at a higher price point? People are willing to pay more. Are you at a lower price point where money matters to that customer? And of course they don't want complete trash, but they are willing to take something of lower quality so that way it's more affordable for their budget. And speaking of quality, that can be your niche. So not just the price point, but the quality, because price point doesn't always determine quality. There's some items out there that are way overpriced for their quality, as well as some products where people are cutting themselves short and not charging enough for the quality that they're selling. You can have a specific fabric that you know is high quality, and most of your garments are made out of that fabric, and that's more of your niche. Those customers are typically shopping for this type of fabric. And then in terms of quality, it doesn't have to be just fabric. I was given one example. You can have handmade products. Everything is handmade, custom made. That usually will cost more too. Handmade, custom made, when you're pointing that out, that tends to attract a certain type of customer. Or it can be thrifted. Again, that's going to attract a certain type of customer because not everyone wants a thrifted item. Or let's say premium quality. There's different type of qualities here, and that can help to determine your niche. Geographics can certainly help to determine your niche, where your customer base is located. It can be based off the country, off of a city, etc. Geographics can help determine your niche as well. Of course, gender can help determine your niche. Men's, women's, unisex. I mentioned that briefly in the beginning. That's usually the first thing people use to identify their niche. Age, of course, can also identify your niche. Are you targeting college students? Are you targeting children? Are you targeting young adults, mature adults, seniors? Age can help determine your niche as well. And then of course, like value and lifestyle can determine your niche also. You can pick out specific lifestyles, LGBTQ community. It could be Black Lives Matter community. There's different values. There's different things that people stand for that your brand can also stand for. And of course, that is going to be the niche that you're targeting. But let me just give you guys some tips on how to choose your niche when you're choosing that niche for your online business. Because of course you have those different categories, which I'm sure you knew of some of those already, and you're still at a point where you're trying to figure out exactly how do you choose your niche. The first tip I can give you is to find your passion. Find what your brand is going to stand behind, especially if you're going in the direction of like an interest or a value or lifestyle. Your brand wants to stand for that as well. And I would recommend for you yourself as the owner to be passionate behind that as well. Because a lot of people tend to pick brands that they just feel is like going to be a moneymaker because it's trending right now, but they're not very passionate about it. And those are the brands that typically don't usually last long because there's no passion behind it. They really don't care about it. So find your passion first. What do you really stand for, and what's going to be the voice of your brand? That should be the niche that you're targeting. Number 2, try to solve a problem when choosing the niche for your brand. For example, if you're going into women's shoes, there's certainly a ton of shoe companies out there that we can buy shoes from. One of those problems that is lacking is larger size women's shoes. There are taller women out there, or just women in general, that have a larger size foot, and I'm talking like size 11 and up, where it's harder for them to find cute shoes because not everyone offers those sizes. That would be a problem that you would be solving. So when you're choosing your niche and the type of product you're selling, look to find a problem that you're solving, but make sure you still have passion behind that too. I hear from some customers as well. They are plus size women and they want to sell plus size clothing, but they want bigger sizes than just 1X to 3X. They want to go even higher than those sizes. They already have a passion behind it because it's something that's missing in their very own closet. And then they're also solving a problem on top of that for other women that are in need of the same thing. Then tip number 3 that I can give you is to research both your inspiration company as well as your competition. Now, a lot of times when we decide to create our own business, we already have some brands out there we admire. It's probably brands we're already shopping. Look into those brands and research their niche, who their target customer is, who are they really marketing to, and then also look at your competition. Those inspiration brands may not be your direct competition, but you might have some other brands that are your direct competition, or maybe your inspiration brands are your competition as well. But look into those different brands and see who their niche are. Look into their social media and see the customers that are following them, the customers that are engaging with them, and try to determine the niche from there. Now, I will say when you're doing that research, just because that is their exact niche doesn't mean that it's going to be exactly yours. Remember, this is just for research purposes to help guide you in the right direction. Because let's say your brand may be targeting specific women of specific ages, but the women they're targeting may not have the same values as what your brand may be standing for. For example, pro-life. Their company may be pro-life, yours may not be. Their customer base may also be mainly pro-life customers. You're not necessarily standing behind that, so you may not be targeting those customers. So this is to give you a general idea, but that doesn't mean that that will be your exact niche as well. So to wrap this up, in the beginning I gave the example of solving a problem for plus size clothing. So they might have women that are pro-life because that is the women that they target, and those women are buying plus size clothing. But your company is not pro-life, yet you're still looking for those plus size customers. So your niche may not be 100% exactly the same, but you might have some. And you'll be surprised how some customers will not support certain brands because of the things they stand behind. For example, you have some people that won't eat Chick-fil-A just because they close on Sundays for religious purposes, and because they're non-religious, they feel Chick-fil-A should be open on Sundays. So because they don't value the same things that Chick-fil-A values, they don't want to buy from Chick-fil-A. People do that. And I'm sure you might have some brands that you choose not to stand behind because of things they value. For example, racism. Some brands are openly racist and they're okay with that. And for those of us that don't stand for racism, you don't want to support those brands. So that's what I'm getting at, that your niche may not be 100% the same, but you can at least get an idea of those inspiration and competitors' niches. But it's for research purposes, does not mean that's your exact niche. I hope y'all get where I'm going with this and trying to find your right niche. We're trying to narrow it down, but we don't want to narrow it down too much where it's hard for us to grow our business. We do have to keep an open mind at the end of the day and try to work with everyone, but sometimes you put your foot down on certain things you stand for. But let's move into tip number 4, because I can run on with that topic forever. Tip number 4 is to look at the current buying trends. And when I say look at the current buying trends, is to give you an idea of what's actually selling. Doesn't mean don't sell it at all just because it's not trending right now. But obviously something that's completely dead, you don't want to go into unless you have some unique way of selling it. For example, let's say like fidget spinners for kids were extremely popular at one time and they were selling everywhere, and of course eventually became oversaturated. I don't know in 2023 that I will go and start a business selling only fidget spinners because that trend kind of died out by now. So I would say look at those trends and see what's going on as far as the trends before you jump into it. One of the platforms that you can use to research the trends is Google Trends. You can look on there. That's not 100% saying yes to sell or no to sell, but that's a start to give you an idea of the direction something is going in. Look into different articles too. There's business articles out there as well where you can really learn the trends of what's going on in the economy and the specific industry you're looking at, as well as the niche you are looking into. And the last tip number 5 that I'm going to give you in this video is to test out the niche. And the reason I say test out the niche, which seems like it would be obvious as soon as you go into business, obviously you're trying it, but a lot of people will pick a niche and they will be stuck on that niche even if it's not working. So I say test it out first. See if it actually works for you. If it's not, then maybe you need to reevaluate. Maybe you narrowed your niche down way too small to the point that you're really not making money. You don't have enough people to sell to. Or maybe your niche is too broad where it really doesn't stand for anything and it really doesn't have its own voice. So you want to kind of narrow it down a little bit. Doesn't mean that you don't get to sell to those other people. It's just that you find your voice for your brand that tends to narrow it down to a specific niche. But that's tip number 5. Test it out. If it doesn't work, reevaluate things. If it does work, definitely continue on with it. But that's basically it on finding your niche. Really just look for something that you're truly interested in and that you can solve a problem for, and use one of those categories or a few of those categories that I listed in the beginning to really define your niche. And do your research and test things out. You'll be able to narrow down on your right niche. Doesn't always happen overnight. It could be something that you find out later down the line, especially when you're testing and you're making changes. But you'll eventually come down to exactly who your niche is once you get the flow of things. Don't let your niche and trying to figure that out in the beginning stop you from actually starting your business. But that's it for this week's video. I'm going to continue on with going through all the basics of starting your business. We're going back to the basics for those of you that are in the startup phase of your business. But until next video, thank you guys for watching.